Welcome to the InfoMullet YouTube channel. If you enjoy this content, please like or share. And if you'd like to support the InfoMullet by becoming a mulleteer, visit us on Patreon. We appreciate your support. I often talk about asymmetric conflict. People will think that, to me, I'm the one hammer where everything's nailed. Everything's asymmetric. It's always asymmetric. It's difficult. It's complicated. Campaign spending is conventional. There you go. Here's a conventional conflict, right? When it comes to presidential campaign, more dollars gives you more resources, more access. We'll get into whether it's effective or not, but spending matters. It's a conventional, it's numbers. And what conventional means is you want to maximize your numbers and put them at a point of target against the next person. So what I'm doing right now is simply trying to lay the groundwork of where we're at 2020 campaign spending on a variety of fronts versus where we're at 2016 at the end of the campaign. So I'm going to start with congressional spending. This is for House and Senate combined. A big thing to keep in mind here is that incumbents always benefit from more fundraising. It's called the incumbent effect. They get more money from fundraising because they're already there. They're more likely to stay. So if you have your party as a majority of control, you're probably going to get more money anyways. And you can tell this. I want to put that in context because when I clear this chart, over on the left is the number of millions with an M that is spent on congressional races. And the blue or the red is the candidate committee itself, right? And the brown is the outside spending. Now, outside spending includes all manner of things. It includes 527s, it includes PACs, it includes corporate treasury funds. So some of this could be considered Citizen United bad spending, but it's all things combined because it's a simple number. So in 2016, the GOP both had the majority, I believe, but they also dominated in spending. They were getting a lot more money. And this, again, November, this is November, on the right is September. So it's not apples to apples, but it's showing how little, how much outside spending is now involved in the Congress and how much closer, at least in this point in time, the two parties are in the Congress. And this is going to determine control of the Senate and the House, because they're both up for grabs. I think the House is more likely to stay Democrat. The Senate, I don't want to get into predictions. I'll do that on another thing and get in trouble then. But so you see on the congressional, the first aspect, this is district by district. When you spend money on a congressional race, that's going to have some influence on the presidential race. It's going to have influence. These are all linked together. It's an ecosystem. So here's the spending on congressional. Here's the presidential campaign spending. So this is, again, by candidate and outside groups. So again, Clinton in 2016, Trump in 2016. Notice that Clinton spent a lot more money. She spent more money through her campaign than the combined total of Trump's campaign and his outside spending. He didn't get a lot of outside support because no one thought he would go far. But you can see here how much more the Democrats had to spend in 2016. And here we are in 2020. Again, caveat, it's September, not November. So these numbers, in fact, I read yesterday that Biden took in $380 million in August alone. So if that's true, I don't think that's reflected in here. And it would put his chart somewhere probably up close to here. It broke all records for month of August donations fundraising. So it's not reflected in this chart. I'm using Open Secrets, which is a great source, by the way, for everything you need to know about campaign spending. Get your data there. And you can see the outside groups are spending on behalf of presidential. So this is the conventional resource here at the point of both conventions are over. The month of August is over. The general election has begun. We're in election season now. You thought it was the last year. It's just starting now, traditionally. So what does this mean when we think about deltas? The relative difference between, when you talk about conventional conflict, sometimes one way to think about it is I got 10,000 soldiers, they got 9,000, he's got 1,000 more, that's a benefit. And we can look at that now as the delta between the two, how when we, across the board, who had the advantage in all of these different components. So this chart is a little bit, let me clear it. And this is 2016. On the left side is the millions of spending. If it goes, and it's at 0, and what I did is a comparison. I just did Democrat minus GOP because D comes before G in the alphabet. So Democrat total minus GOP total gives us a relative difference. So if it goes negative here, this is the advantage the GOP had in dollars on that aspect of the 2020 campaign. If it's positive in blue, that's the Democratic advantage. And from left to right, you see the House, the Senate, the top 50, this outside Congress, these are the top 50 special interest groups outside Congress. You can go to Open Secrets, look it up. It's like retired, legal, education, you know, and it breaks up how they did, but I've allocated the numbers. The presidential candidate and the presidential outside, and then the total delta across all of these. So in 2016, we can talk about the Republicans had the advantage in the House and the Senate and outside congressional spending by a lot. That may have had an influence that Clinton had, even though she had an advantage over Trump by quite a bit, all this other spending is going on at the same time. And again, we had a Democrats had advantage in outside spending. So as much as they don't like Citizens United, they're not hurting from it. But the total delta across all the factors here was in favor of the GOP. And we'll get into whether campaign spending is actually effective or not. I don't want you to think that just because there's a delta, that means it's a foregone conclusion. There's some good evidence it's not. But this is the state of the race in 2016. 2020, as we are right now, much different picture. Same chart, same things. Again, it says September 1st, so these numbers are as of 2 days ago. The House is being outspent by the Democrats. The Senate is still being outspent by the GOP. Huge difference in special interest groups coming in behind the Democrats. I think you could call this the Trump effect. You know, the outside Congress was clearly in favor of the GOP in 2016. That has probably the most dramatic flip. So it goes from 230 million in favor of the GOP in 2016 to now close to 250 million in favor of the Democrats. We're not even done, right? We're just getting started. And then on the presidential candidate side, Trump has a slight advantage. But again, Biden just had that huge haul, so that may flip. And the outside is slightly in favor of the Democrats. Net difference right now, strongly in favor of the Democrats across the board. This delta that exists, and that's one way to think about you know, the spending. And this spending is tied into this episode because in a way, spending is about people's access to speech. The spending is coming through platforms, content. You know, when we talk about Section 230 moderation, you know, some of this spending is going to be on Twitter campaigns. It's going to be on Facebook. It's going to be on YouTube videos. Social media is now much more a part of the spending landscape than it has in the past. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to follow the InfoMullet, visit us on Facebook or Twitter. And if you'd like notifications when we post new video content, click on the red subscribe button below the video. If you've ever wanted to become a mulleteer and support the InfoMullet, visit us on Patreon. We appreciate the support.